everyone screaming for Oscar like he was Justin Bieber.
I mean,
Oscar! I love him!
I think Weiss can finally say, Jean, my hero.
You mean to Ruby, right?
Oh, I totally forgot that he liked you.
I think my favorite part of that episode is still Ruby moving his hands. Do not stop what you're doing.
Yeah, I was like, okay, thanks.
She just wants to look at it and go, oh, cool. All right.
Yeah, I think my favorite part, though, was Blake.
Yes.
Get it? Because she's
She was
not
great.
in the episode.
Mm-hmm. I like the you heard Neo's lines in there a few times, too. Yeah.
Good joke.
Thank you. I'm like that no one got it either.
She said I like Neo in that episode.
Yeah, Neo was great in that episode.
Was Neo in that episode?
No. Yeah, her lines are awesome. It's funny too. We were just talking about the dynamic of Oscar and Ozpin, and I did hear some of you guys react like, "Oh, whenever Ozpin took over Oscar's body," and was like, "Sorry, I call the shots now." I was talking to Michael about that last week, and he was like, "Wait. So let me get this straight. Oscar has Ozpin living inside of him." I'm like, "Yes, okay." He's like, "So, but Ozpin can like take over his body whenever he wants." I'm like, "Yeah, kind of, in a way." And Michael goes, "That's messed up."
That is literally a Black Mirror episode.
Yeah, right?
I do have a question. Is his little scarf looks like the Doctor Who scarf that they put in the very first episode? Mm-hmm. Does anyone notice? Like in the very first episode, there's like a clothesline, and there's a cute little Doctor Who
Easter
thing.
egg.
Yeah, and it looks like the exact same scarf.
Maybe. Doctor Who crossover confirmed.
Yeah.
Oscar is next Doctor.
Don't know what I expected an answer for that, but
Let's just say, so that episode was pretty huge.
Yeah.
The next 2 episodes, y'all.
Yeah.
You're in for a treat.
I mean, yeah, it's not even really spoilers. I will say I tweeted about it. Recording this episode specifically was when I had to run to the bathroom to throw up because I got overheated, and the next episode. So you'll see.
I like it
fine.
when Ruby
I'm
gets
fine.
angry.
Me too. My favorite part too is when she like jumps over to Yang. She strikes the pose from the Red trailer.
I love that. That was great.
Yeah, callback. Cool. Well, I think we're gonna open it up to Q&A.
Yeah.
I know we have a line forming over there, and the microphone
there's
that
mics right there.
doesn't
They got the mic there.
exist. Oh, they do over there.
No.
Also, I've never seen RWBY, by the way, but that right there, I know what I'm binge watching.
Woo! We got another one. Yes.
That's an interesting episode to come in at.
Yeah.
She's tough.
Because of time constraints and everything, there is another panel on Sunday for you guys, which will be amazing. But we already have 10 questions, and that's all we're going to allow right now.
We still have half an hour.
Sorry. Do you think you'll be able to get more than 10? Because normally we allow 15 for a full hour.
We'll
Why
try
don't
and
we
keep it.
try the first 10?
Let's do 10, and then if you guys still have some time, we can add some more people to the question line and everything.
If you trust in our ability, I say stay in line.
Yeah, so,
We'll see.
all right. We have our first question right here.
Hello.
Hi.
First of all, Happy New Year.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
So my question is, do you like your character development so far? Like after watching that, I'm like, dang, Ruby is so mature now.
We're growing up.
Yeah, I think Weiss might disagree. I love Ruby's development, especially, obviously she's, for the first time, admitted, like, no, I'm angry. Like, I'm not just going to continue being happy and positive. Like, I'm PO'd. Something's going to happen. That's awesome.
Oh, I'm super proud of Weiss for everything. She's been through, from her family background, all the way to, now going through some hard times. But, she's not perfect. We know that now. So, more to come, obviously. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm really excited for Blake. I think she's finally, obviously, come back to her home base and facing her issues full on instead of just running from them in the way that she usually did. And I'm excited that she's taking charge, but I hope she does it well. I don't know how to say that. I'm very eloquent with words.
I'm very happy with Yang's development over those last couple seasons. I think all the characters have grown in such tremendous ways, and I think that's just part of also coming of age. They're at that age, 17, 18 slash 16, where they really learn about themselves and learn how to come into their own, and seeing that development through all the characters, but also particularly Yang, because that's what I'm speaking on. I don't know, it's really nice to see them learn about themselves and learn that a lot of the things that they used to do are kind of dumb and irresponsible. So seeing that development through the season and the series has been really cool.
Yeah, I've always liked that. I feel like the character development in this show is very realistic. Like, I feel like it's indicative of like real personal growth instead of just like a fantastical kind of like,
Magic girls.
magic, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
First off, I just want to say, originally I used to be just a casual fan of RWBY, but now you guys turned me into a gigantic one. I'm gonna binge watch the entire series now. So my question, my question is, what was the journey like from when RWBY first started to where it is now? What was the journey like for all of you?
For a lot of us, maybe like save Elizabeth, that was the first time that we had a prominent like voice acting role, or a voice acting role, period. So it literally changed our entire lives. So we said it before, but it's true. Like, we owe Monty everything. So
Yeah.
Props for Monty. I gotta just say, same answer as Lindsay. It's been an amazing journey. We've progressed so much just as voice actresses. Now that we're here and seeing all of, y'all, and we have a room filled with people that are excited to see our show, it's awesome and so humbling. So thank you for watching.
Yeah, I don't have too much to add to that, but having RWBY in my life has absolutely changed it. Like, I wouldn't be where I am now. I wouldn't be in Los Angeles. I wouldn't have an agent and all of this stuff without this show, and I wouldn't have my built inner strength because of y'all. So, thank y'all.
Yeah, just echoing what everyone already said, it's absolutely true. Someone asked me this question the other day where they said, what's been like the most influential thing over your time at Rooster Teeth, and especially the last 5 years? And the number one thing I always say is RWBY. It's completely changed our entire lives, not only for, as long as RWBY runs, but even going onwards after that. I think it's going to last forever in all of our lives, and it's going to have such a great effect on all of us and our experience in the industry and getting to meet you guys and travel around the world. So it's indescribable, absolutely.
So I've said this before in a panel, so sorry if I'm repeating this again, but one of my favorite parts when I first started watching RWBY was how you guys weren't professional voice actors. Like, I loved that there was a rawness and a realness to the performances that was really, really charming.
Thank you.
And it's been a real pleasure to like watch you guys grow as performers and voice actors, like over the volumes. Like, I loved where you started, and like I'm really proud of like where you all are now.
Thank you.
You're the best big sister ever. My sister's proud of me.
I'm not crying, you're crying.
I like the word charming, though.
Yeah, charming.
It was
very early
charming.
on.
We have heart.
I too cannot rewatch Volume 1.
I will say also, just at a larger scale, on a different scale, I should say, like, it definitely changed the face of Rooster Teeth as a whole. Now we've opened ourselves up to, for lack of a better term, like a more female-skewed audience, or allowed a platform for female audience members to feel like they are welcomed. And now we have shows like Always Open. We didn't have that
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Great question.
Thank you, ladies. Enjoy the rest of the con.
before. Thank you too.
Hello again.
Hi.
Hi. So I asked Barbara this question yesterday, but Erin, how did you start with Rooster Teeth?
So I worked at Texas Student Television at the University of Texas.
Shout out.
Yeah, Lindsay also worked there. But that's how I made my friends in college. I was friends with Miles and Brandon and Lindsay and Chris, and just a lot of the like newbies at the time back then. So I just knew everybody already, and I ended up making friends with Monty and having an odd relationship with him, I suppose. And he was like, I'm starting this thing. You're a voice, or you're an actress or whatever. You've done this stuff. Do this thing for me. I was like, okay. So it literally was Monty being like, I kind of know you. I like you. I trust you. I know you do this thing. I'm going to make you do it for real.
That's like Monty in a nutshell, too.
Yeah, it's exactly what he sees potential in you, and then just like holds on to it and strangles it until something happens.
And he was always really good at seeing potential in yourself when you didn't. Like,
Yeah.
he's the
That
first
was the
person to go,
best.
no, you can do it.
Yeah, I still remember the day Monty approached me about RWBY. Before it even had a title, before he fleshed out the characters, and before he even publicly talked about this idea, he came up to me one day at work. I think he was still working on like RWBY season 10 or something, or season 11 at the time. And he said, hey, how do you feel about voicing a badass Goldilocks? And I was like, that sounds awesome. I have no idea what you're talking about, but sign me up, I guess.
Yes, please.
Oh, Monty.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll do. You guys don't get to answer. That was for me
Yeah,
only.
no, sorry. I first met Aaron in college.
Sorry, it's a little low. Okay, this might be a little bit of an inside baseball question, so I'm going to try to be as specific as I can. And for time, and if we want to get some other people, this might be directed to two of you, but all of you, if you can answer, great. So I'm a podcaster, and I do voice recording as well. And one of the challenges I face is getting consistent recordings, because I'll record one day, and I'll record another day, and I'll have to piece a show together, and it sounds completely disjointed. Your performances are remarkably consistent. So I guess my question is that a post-production thing, or do you actively review previous performances
We're
so
just
that you
perfect.
can hit your marks?
Yeah.
Or-
I just
I can
kidding, I'm
accept
just
that.
kidding.
That's a perfectly good answer. I mean, basically,
no.
and if for take a time, I'll ask the two that are cast against type. So RWBY, Blake, do you find this to be more of a challenge than it might be for Schnee or for Yang, who are a little closer to your own natural voices?
I have no idea what you're talking about. I sound nothing like Yang, ever.
Of course you do.
For me, it's a bit of both. I do like to review previous episodes, and like I feel like we're big fans of RWBY as well as a show. So I constantly rewatch things and try and critique myself. Before recording in the booth, they'll usually play back some lines of RWBY or other characters I play, so I can get into the mindset. But we do record multiple episodes back to back. So like they try and make sure that if we do go in for recording, we're at least getting 3 episodes at a time, so we can continue that emotional flow and not have that break.
I do find that the writing actually is what helps put me back into Blake, because there are things that she's got a cadence to her that I didn't really realize until maybe volume 3, that like she just kind of comes out naturally whenever I read whatever script I'm reading. But there are times, I guess, like with RWBY Chibi, where I had to be like an excited Blake, but I had just finished recording a Dr. Gray episodes, so the entire time I was like, how am I supposed to make Blake excited first off, and then why am I doing this after an excited person already? So that was the hardest thing, because it
But you
kept
nailed
coming
it.
out.
You nailed it.
Thank you. I kept coming out Dr. Gray, and I was so frustrated. And then I went home and had breakfast tacos because I was so mad. But yeah, I honestly think it's the writing for me that kind of brings me back into Blake.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to say that we're just that talented, but
I know.
like Lindsay said, we usually record a bunch of episodes kind of all in one shot. So the writers will usually finish scripts 1 to 6 or 1 to 4 and then get us in for those. And then
I get like 2 scripts at a time. You guys suck.
I definitely rewatch though a lot of the old episodes just to try to get back into
yeah,
it.
and sometimes they'll show us a cut of an episode or a dialogue just to get us back in the mindset.
Yeah.
A little trick that I use too, because a lot of times when you're recording stuff, like you said, long periods of time will pass before you record again for the same character. One trick that I use is I come up with a phrase or a small monologue that typifies the character for me, like their mindset, but also their voice. And then like I'll perform that before I start recording, and it's kind of like a short circuit into the character's like voice and brain for me.
I really like that.
Yeah.
I'm going to take that now. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Adieu.
Hi.
Hey again.
It's loud this time. First off, that was awesome.
Thank you.
Secondly, my question's more about you guys than the show, but now that you guys have been doing this for a few years, and obviously Elizabeth's been doing it for a minute too, I know you guys always get, what's the weirdest fan story or whatever. Mine's like kind of flip on that. What's the coolest fan story you guys have? What's like, or a cool fan story, so you don't have to like choose one.
Mine's gonna be a little bit of a downer, but I think it's one that sticks out to me, so I'm sorry to bring the mood down for a second. This was RTX 2 years ago. A girl came up to our signing booth and she was dressed as Pyrrha. And she'd already seen what happened to her, and so there was no like spoilers. But she came up to the booth, she had one of those assistant dogs as well as support dogs. And I said, oh, that's awesome, cool, like your support dog. She's like, oh, well, just to kind of clarify real quick, I have terminal cancer, and I only have a few months to live. And I identify with Pyrrha a lot because she's so strong, and she understands that she's eventually going to have to die. And I feel like that helps me be emotionally, prepared for my departure, basically, too. And I will never forget that.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Mine's a little bit more lighthearted, I guess.
Yeah, please, for the love of God, bring it up.
And it's a cool story. It's not really about, I'll make it short. It wasn't specific for me. I think it is anyway. My dad works in the medical field, works with a lot of doctors all over the U.S., specifically neurosurgeons. And he was at Northwestern in Chicago talking with the head of neurosurgery, neurology there. I don't even know the names, but whatever. The really high ones there. And they started talking about family and what their kids are doing. And turns out the head of neurology, neurosurgery at Northwestern is a huge RWBY fan. And my dad was like, you know what that is, kind of a thing? Like, what? So,
well, he's super smart, so it makes sense that he's a RWBY fan.
I sent him a signed RWBY figure, and it's actually up at like the head of the office in Northwestern. So that's awesome.
Wow.
I thought that was pretty cool.
That's really awesome.
Oh, sorry, were you done? Yeah. Okay. I don't have, I really like when children come up dressed up as Blake. That's kind of one of my favorite things in the world because I get like a hug from teeny tiny Blake and it's the best.
Oh yeah, mini rubies.
I've since starting to starting to do more conventions within the past year or so, I've noticed that at almost every convention, I will see someone that I know, a fan that I know, or who's like just over time become like a friend. And it's really nice to like consistently see someone at every place to feel like, all right, I can be at ease. I know someone here. I'm not alone. That kind of thing. Yeah. So I really enjoy like the amount of times people come back to see us.
Or even just recognizing someone from Twitter or
seeing
somewhere.
someone's face who like we interact on Twitter or on Instagram and be like, I know you. and that's a really nice thing because I get a lot of anxiety and it kind of brings me back to a center. So I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, for sure. Coolest fan moment. I mean, every convention we go to is just so amazing seeing the reaction that everyone has to meeting us because we're just a bunch of dorks. Like we're just so happy to be here and we're like such big nerds and like we're nerding over the fact that we get to meet you guys and you're nerding out over the fact that you get to meet us and it's just this big nerd conglomerate and just explosion. But I think one of my favorite moments was from RTX 2016. I tweeted out, it was like the night before, I was like, hey, anybody who's cosplaying as Yang, like I would love to take a picture with all you guys tomorrow. And like 40 people showed up who were all dressed up as Yang and like different versions of her. And there was some like guys dressed as Yang and like little girls and like older people, like a range of so many different people dressed as my character. And like they all had their own spin on it, which was like the coolest thing ever. And then we all took a picture together and like one girl picked me up and I was like, I'm around superheroes. And I also love seeing cosplayers who like take on the personality of the characters that they're cosplaying. And to see people who are cosplaying Yang to take on her personality, I'm just like so pumped up all the time. Awesome.
If I met a Blake cosplaying like personality as Blake, I don't know how that would go.
You guys should just sit quietly in a room.
Just like look at each other and be like, okay.
At Planet Comic-Con last year, I had a Winter and a Crow cosplayer come up, and they wanted to take a picture with me. And unbeknownst to Winter, the friend was actually videotaping, not taking a picture. And we were like standing there like this, and I'm in the middle of them. And the Crow is like, actually, hold on 1 second. And he gets down on one knee, and he pulls out a ring, and he proposes to Winter.
I have a picture on my Twitter of that if you want.
And I was like literally
happened.
in the middle of them, like, oh my God. Do you want me to officiate your wedding? Because I will.
They're gonna name their firstborn Elizabeth. They gotta.
The
basically
true
Elizabeth.
OTP.
Yes.
So Snowbird is confirmed, right?
Canon.
You guys are awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
I will say that episode was kick ass.
Thank you. Jedi approved.
The question I ask is, did John really discover to keep the people he cared about from dying?
Darth Sidious, I know who you are. Get out of here.
It's a little late now, though, isn't it?
Ouch.
I still feel like that's a bit of a touchy subject.
He's just standing on the roof collecting the ashes, like, come on, come on. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
God damn it, Barbara!
Right.
I'm sure they're still there after 2 years.
He's up there with a broom and a dustpan.
When Barbara told me that, like, when I watched the episode and when Barbara and I were talking about it, I was like, well, now they can raid together so much easier because now they have a medic.
There you go.
Good.
Me too.
Bye, Palpatine.
You're like a mixture of a bunch of things, I feel like.
It's a custom-made Reaper legendary skin I call a catastrophe.
I was about to go die,
so it's-
die, but I'll probably give the wrong impression.
Die!
Yes.
Dude, I love Star Wars.
He's Freddy
really
Krueger.
into
duh.
Night.
Anyway,
Use the Force,
Nightmare on Elm
Harry.
Street.
my question to you all is, due to the fact that there's faunus, which are human animals,
There
and
are faunas.
and Grimm that are essentially demonized incarnations of animals. Are there any normal exotic animals in the world of RWBY?
Why?
Yes.
Why?
No, no, no. I'm
And
not
what
talking.
do you mean by normal?
And then he says exotic, so pick
Yeah,
one.
I'm not talking about like house dogs or
Blake's
farm
pretty
animals. I'm
exotic.
talking like lions, giraffes, whales.
No.
Yeah, so far,
Just why?
no.
It's like the Goofy movie. There's Goofy and there's Pluto.
Oh,
We do see fish in the water, though.
you
We
do
do see
see
fish in the
fish?
water, so I would assume.
I always assumed it was just like Pokemon. There's no like real animals.
When
You're just
they-
riding around on Laprases and stuff.
When they eat meat, what are they eating?
Next question.
Tuna!
Thank you.
They,
No, but really.
And may the odds be ever in your favor.
Are you Ilya? Yes.
I love
Which
you,
on
babe.
that note, oh my God. Thank you and the team so much for creating her. I love her, and that is
I love her
so
too.
meaningful. Yes, I figure. But yes, I was wondering how long it took you guys to get to know your characters. If there was a particular moment that like cemented that connection.
5 years.
It feels like we're still getting to know our characters.
Yeah.
I mean, like she jokes, but it's true. I feel like there's because the characters are growing also, like there are moments where we go, oh, okay, like yes, this is what you're feeling now, instead of like, oh, this is the character, because they're always going to be fluctuating and changing based on what's happening around them.
Right. I probably agree with that.
So yeah.
It's I
I think we learn more like as we go along. It's constantly a learning process.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say like there's one specific thing where I can say, oh, this is when I really connected with the character and all of that. But I just think that also just going through things even with like our teammates and our other characters, other voice actresses, we've all grown together, and I think that that's something that. I don't know. I feel more in tune with why it's like talking to you guys and getting more feedback from y'all about how you do stuff.
It's
so.
just like being a person. You're never gonna fully understand yourself, but you will constantly like put pieces together. Like I think even right as you're on your deathbed, you're still like, who am I? So
That's what Weiss said.
that's what Weiss did.
Who am I?
She's fine, you guys. Come.
I feel like I've always really understood Yang very well. I feel like I've met her 28 years ago. She's very much like myself in a lot of ways, which is a really cool experience. But with Miles and Carrie especially, they're so great at talking you through a scene, and I ask a lot of questions during recordings, like, what is she feeling in this moment? Like, what is this person saying that to her? What does that make her feel like? And so they're really good at talking me through that process and helping me get myself in the mindset of her.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but when I found out Winter hated bunk beds, I was like, oh my God, I totally understand this character.
How dare you? Elizabeth is also super mean to me in real life, so I'm just kidding. She's like the nicest person in the world. Elizabeth is like the lovable mom for all of us. She's like, oh, come here, my little ones. We'll take care of you.
Sister. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. Also, just to mention real quick, shout out to Jeremy Lee, who plays Ilya, who's the English dub.
So sweet.
She is also Lucy in Fairy Tale, for anyone who watches that.
So we only have about 8 minutes left, so we're going to go a little quicker through these
Rapid
questions.
fire questions.
Hello.
Hey.
Okay, so if how packed this room is doesn't already tell that the RWBY community is big, what are your thoughts on on the fandom itself, like all the fan art, fanfics, and other community-created work?
Awesome. Kidding me?
Insane. It's massive.
We talk about how we're fans of RWBY. Like, I feel like we're constantly sharing stuff with each other. Or like, I browse the Tumblrs a lot.
Yeah.
I read your fan fictions. I see them all.
I don't read the fanfic, but I do love all of like the fan art that like we get and everything. And I think that it's like humbling and just I feel like really special, and I'm so grateful and thankful that people think about us like in their spare time and really like want to take time to draw and practice and that kind of thing. And if we can inspire people to keep doing their passion, whether it be drawing or voice acting or whatever they want to do, it's really cool.
It proves how unique and amazing the RWBY community is. Every day we're blown away by people's passion for the show and their talent. So yeah, we love it so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. Hello. Your pants are super cute, by the way.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Shut your stupid little face.
It's so nice to meet you all. Hi.
Hello.
I was just wondering, you're all, well, you four, but Elizabeth, you're professional, but you all are kind of new to this, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
I really like voice acting, but I find it really hard to be emotionally vulnerable, and you guys have had to be really emotionally vulnerable these last 2 seasons. So do you have any advice on how to open yourself up?
One, I feel like there's always just going to be an area of like uncomfortableness in performance, and that's something that we all struggle with and try and break through every single day. It's like, okay, you're a little nervous, all right, you're fine, you'll get into the character. As far as that emotional connection, anytime, and a lot of actors will agree, it's like anytime we perform, we try and find some kind of personal connection or like a moment we can think of. Like for RWBY, I'm like, okay, she's upset about this. Obviously, I didn't witness the death of my friend in front of me, but let me try and think about something like, the passing of my grandfather. Okay, that was really sad. I didn't like that. Now I can kind of take that moment and amplify it for the performance.
Exactly. I was gonna say that exact same thing. Find a real life experience from yourself that you can relate to from your character as well, and just kind of try to channel how you're feeling there, and that will translate into the emotion and the voice that comes through.
I try not to do the substitution too much because I find that it does interfere with my daily life if I am like working on something. That like say I'm doing like an emotional relationship scene, then I'll feel like the whole day like, and I'll have to like constantly need reassurance from my boyfriend and be like, if you let me still I promise, that kind of thing. But I honestly just compare it to doing on-screen work because I find having to do emotional on-screen work is more vulnerable than voiceover. So I just kind of think that I'm not doing on-screen at the time and be like, this is easy. And that's not helpful at all, but that's my answer.
I think especially with voice acting, I found that you feel really silly a lot and really stupid, and you feel like, man, like people could see, like especially with our setup, people could see us through the window, and I'm like, I look like an idiot doing this, or I'm making a weird face, or my body's doing something weird, and you feel really vulnerable and really silly, but you kind of have to remember that it's the performance that's important, and the people who are directing you or are in the other room, they don't care what you look like. They don't care about any of that. They're just hoping to get a performance out of you. And so make those silly faces, think about something that really gets to you and let that really show through in the vocal performance. Like I think it's something I'm still learning how to do. Like I had a really emotional scene that I had to do in this volume, and I was like bawling my eyes out during the scene. and it was challenging, but I felt really proud of it, even though I felt like an idiot at some point.
For me, that's the beauty of voice acting. I hate on-screen stuff because I'm worried about my body. In the booth, I can be a weirdo. That's
Do
fine.
whatever I want. Yeah. Yep. But I agree with Barb too.
Breathing is a huge thing. I know that sounds really silly, but we cut ourselves off from our emotions through our breath a lot. And if you're having trouble being vulnerable or being emotional, honestly, just like taking a moment and taking like 10 deep breaths will actually really connect you back into like your emotional self.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Best of luck.
We may only have time for one more.
Oh my gosh, I love
You
this
shouldn't have
movie
trusted
so
us.
much. Oh, if you guys haven't seen Coco, go like see it immediately.
Oh, we'll
Such
be
a
at our
good-
booth also,
Yeah.
so you're totally allowed to ask questions there. You don't just have to.
Yeah, we'll be at our booth and we have a panel tomorrow too. So if you guys don't get to ask your questions today, we'll be there. Cool.
Hola.
Hola.
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Okay, estoy bien. Gracias.
Mucho gusto.
Gracias.
Por favor, no cruces de frente del
Okay,
otro.
I just wanted to say, first of all, really want to thank you guys for working on the show. I just recently got into this, and I love it. Like, it's one of my favorite series of all time.
Thank you for
Okay,
watching.
All right, so I'm a huge music lover, but I just got to ask you guys, like, what song do you guys think would be the theme song for your individual characters?
Oh man. Well, to get into character, I'd always go to music anyways. I try and find like the character's theme song to help me out. Like a Space Kid is the rocket ship song from Game Grumps that's been remixed for any Game Grumps fans out there. For Ruby, especially in recent volumes, like I always go to Red Like Roses Part 2 because if you listen to the lyrics, it's Ruby and her mom speaking to each other and delving into the relationship that you haven't gotten to see, and it was all in Ruby's past, and it really speaks to her inner turmoil, basically. So that's what I go to.
So, like a RWBY from the soundtrack or any song in general?
Oh, just any song in general.
Oh wow, that's hard. Come back to me then.
Material Girl.
Maybe not quite as.
I was really wanting to say Barbie. Barbie girl.
I'm a Barbie. Maybe not quite as deep as this, but I still kind of like the air around these bands. I like Tegan and Sarah and Bright Eyes.
Nice.
Clearly not a fan favorite out here. You guys should listen to more of both.
I think Yang's would be
Figured it out.
rock you like a hurricane. Or I'm too sexy for my shirt. One of the two. Pick whichever one.
That's Kylo Ren's theme song, please.
Love me.
I think Winter's theme song would be "These boots are made for walking."
Oh hell yeah.
And that's just what they'll do.
Yes. One of these days.
These boots are gonna walk all over.
Boob.
Did you just say boob?
I did.
Silence you.
How dare you? What a way to end the panel, too.
Right,
Solid
that's awesome.
questions. Thank you very much, man.
Okay, gracias mucho. You guys are awesome.
Thank you.
Gracias para todos.
Thank you guys so much
Thank
for
you all
coming
so
out.
much. We're gonna be signing at.
Thank you.